title of this week's US CQM forecast alert is The Effect of Personal Income and Consumption Expenditure on the CQM Forecast. These are the main economic indicators updated in this week's CQM. On the expenditure side, PCE has been modified upwards, but on the income side, wages and salaries have been adjusted downwards. Importantly, the statistical discrepancy in 2020 Q3 was calculated to be 367.2 billion. With January PCE update, the upward revision in durable goods and services PCEs outweighed the downward revision in non-durable PCE. As a result, the overall nominal and real PCEs have been revised upward by 1.45% and 0.63% respectively. With the update of January personal income, wages and salaries in all industries have been revised downward significantly. Total wages and salaries have been revised downward from 8.3% to 5.1% in 2021 Q1. As a result, economic growth rate on the expenditure side was revised upward by 0.31%, while that on the income side was revised significantly downward by 2.82%. The gap between economic growth rate on both the expenditure and income sides has begun to narrow. Economic growth rate forecasted by PCE remained unchanged at 6.18%. This is because the real GDP growth rate for 2020 Q4 was slightly revised upward from the advanced figure of 4.01% to the preliminary figure of 4.09%. The statistical discrepancy for 2020 Q3 was calculated to be 367.2 billion. This means the nominal GDP was 1.7% larger than nominal GDI in 2020 Q3. As seen in the graph, the size of the economy differed greatly between the expenditure side and the income side, which is different from the economic theory. Therefore, there is a risk of making a mistake in judging current economic situation if economists focus solely on GDP on the expenditure side. Conclusion from this week's US CQM forecast alert. First, it's best to look at the economic growth rate for the current quarter between 4.5% and 6.5% at this point. Secondly, after 2020 Q4, the statistical discrepancy will be as large as 300 billion. This suggests the size of economic pie measured on the expenditure side is about 1.5% larger than that on the income side. Therefore, the third conclusion is that multiple approaches are essential for judging the current economic situation correctly. This slide contains information about this week's detailed CQM forecast, the original developer of CQM, and CQM theory papers.